Hi guys, it's Doc Curry, and last week I talked about the short squeeze potential on TAAT. TOBAF is up over 10% in the last week. Today I'm going to look at the financials and discuss whether or not TAAT would make a good long-term hold. So let's get into it! Alright, last week I talked about how TOBAF has a 100% utilization rate and 5 days to cover. That makes it a great short squeeze potential. Now, TOBAF is up over 10% since that last video. On Thursday, we saw someone cover about 340,000 shares, but then reshort TOBAF on Friday. That's a good sign that shorts are getting concerned and are starting to cover, even though other shorts are taking their place for now. So today, I want to talk about whether or not TOBAF would make a good stock to hold long term after the short squeeze is over. I'm going to talk about their financials, we'll talk about their growth prospects. I'm also going to look into what some other analysts have said, and then I'm going to give you my analysis on it as well. So let's dig into their financials first. Alright, I'm going to start by looking at their earnings, but before I do, I want to remind you that I am not a financial advisor. Nothing I talk about today is a recommendation to buy, sell, or hold. These are just my opinions, which may or may not be accurate. Also, this video is sponsored by TAAT Global. I do want to make it clear that TAAT has not, in any way whatsoever, told me what to say. They have not provided me with any talking points, ideas, or phrases. This video is entirely my own opinion and analysis. Okay, let's dig into TAAT's financials, and let's start by looking at their reported earnings. The last quarter we have earnings for is Q2. Now we need to ignore the percentages because TAAT didn't start selling their cigarettes until December of last year, so we don't have a full year's worth of sales yet to compare to. Instead, I want to look at their growth between Q1 and Q2 because that's the only real comparison we can make since those are the only two quarters where sales were being made. We can see that between Q1 and Q2, TOBAF saw a 435% quarter-over-quarter growth in revenue. That is exactly the kind of growth I'm looking for in a company that just started sales. We can also see their profit margin decreased from 60% in Q1 to 52% in Q2. I would like to see profit margin increase, but I'm not going to complain about a 52% profit margin. That is excellent. Now, TOBAF had a net loss of $9.27 million last quarter, and as we can see, they spent $9.22 million on marketing. So what this tells me is that TAAT is very focused on growth right now. They are spending a lot of money on marketing to grow the brand and company. Excluding marketing though, TAAT could be very close to profitable just due to their huge profit margins alone. So once TAAT establishes itself in a market, they can cut back on marketing and start pulling in some huge profits. Now the only problem is that marketing is expensive and it will take a lot of cash for TAAT to grow and expand. So let's see how much cash they have on hand. As of the end of the quarter, they had $11.62 million in cash on hand. And while we're here, I can also see that they have no short-term debt and only $95,000 in long-term debt. So this company is basically debt-free, which is a very good sign. That means they won't go out of business if they run out of money. If they run out of money, they'll just have to cut back on their marketing and growth. They'll still have a viable business due to their huge profit margins. Now we know that they're spending over $9 million per quarter in marketing, and they only had $11 million in cash on hand at the end of the quarter. That means they'll be doing share offerings to grow the company. And share offerings will put short-term downward pressure on the share price. And here we can see that they are in fact doing share offerings. They've been selling about $10 million worth of stock each quarter. Now the market cap is currently $143 million, so $10 million from that would be 7%, which means TOBAF could drop in price by 7% during the next share offering. However, each subsequent share offering of the same $10 million might represent a smaller and smaller portion of their market cap, which means there would be less and less downward pressure on the share price over time with each subsequent share offering. So I'm not actually concerned about a 7% drop in share price. TOBAF is up over 10% in the past week alone. Even with a 7% drop, TOBAF would still be up 3%. And if TOBAF could rise 3% every week, it would be up 465% by the end of the year. Now, I'm not saying a 3% weekly rise is sustainable. I'm just trying to show you why I'm not concerned about a short-term 7% drop in the share price. I believe whatever drop in price TOBF might see due to a share offering, it would very quickly be offset by a rise in price due to an increase in sales. So TOBAF is going to be a volatile stock in the short term. But long term, this could be a great growth stock if their growth continues. So let's take a look at TAAT's growth to see if they are seeing increased growth since Q2 and try to get an idea of what they might report in Q3. By the way, TOBAF is expected to report their Q3 earnings at the end of September, sometime between the 27th and 30th of September. Now, to determine how much TAAT has grown since they last reported earnings, let's dig into their news articles. We have 12 news articles that were released since their Q2 earnings and one relevant news article that was released between the end of their second quarter and the time that they announced their Q2 results. So let's start with the oldest one and work our way up. On June 25th, TAAT announced that their wholesaler, who handles Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Alabama, had completely pre-sold its entire initial shipment of TAAT cigarettes before the shipment had even arrived. That is a great sign that TAAT cigarettes are selling and that retail stores want to carry them. On July 9th, TAAT announced that they had expanded into Illinois. They were able to get into 19 retailers across the state. That was in addition to other markets where TAAT was recently launched, including Georgia, North Carolina, South Carolina, and Alabama. We can also see that TAAT cigarettes were sold in more than 300 stores across the United States, in addition to their e-commerce sales. On July 16th, TAAT announced that their new production facilities in Las Vegas would start operations in August. That will increase their production capacity, allowing TAAT to continue to grow. On July 26th, TAAT announced that they had been named Best New Product at their first B2B convention that they attended since launching their product. That gave TAAT great exposure and will help them expand into more stores. On August 3rd, TAAT announced that they had expanded to more than 70 stores in Georgia within just a few short weeks of launching in the States. On August 6th, TAAT announced that the trade show they attended resulted in 68 new purchase orders, bringing the total number of stores TAAT cigarettes are sold in to about 500 across the United States. You might recall that back on July 9th, they were proud to be in 300 stores. So TAAT grew the number of stores they are in by 67% in less than a month. On August 11th, TAAT announced a change in their board of directors to help them with their accounting and sales. On August 13th, TAAT provided a summary of their accomplishments over the past year. That summary was updated on August 16th with some minor corrections. On August 17th, TAAT announced that they had expanded into 4 more states since their last update on July 9th. Those 4 new states include California, Florida, Michigan, and Mississippi. On August 20th, TAAT announced that they were expanding into the UK and Ireland with a $1 million Canadian dollar initial order being placed. That's about $850,000 US dollars. Now keep in mind that their entire revenue for Q2 was only $563,000 US dollars. TAAT cigarettes should sell well in the UK since they don't have to be in the bland packaging that all other cigarettes have to be in, since they don't contain tobacco. So they really stand out on the store shelves. On August 25th, TAAT announced that a retail chain with 147 stores decided to place TAAT cigarettes in all of their stores. Keep in mind that TAAT had entered Michigan just a few weeks prior. The initial sell-through was so impressive that the retailer decided to expand their initial carrying of TAAT cigarettes to all of their stores. Although it wasn't stated in the article, that should put the total number of stores TAAT is sold in to at least 650 across the United States. On August 27th, TAAT announced that they were expanding into Australia with a 536,000 Canadian dollar initial order. So altogether, in the last 2 months alone, TAAT has more than doubled the number of US stores they are carried in. They have tripled the number of states they are carried in, and they have expanded beyond the United States to 3 additional countries. They have over 1.5 million Canadian dollars in sales in just the international markets alone, which means their total sales for the past 2 months are probably close to 2 million Canadian dollars or 1.6 million US dollars. And let me remind you that they only had $563,000 worth of sales in Q2. Now the quarter ends in a few days, so assuming TAAT doesn't announce any more news, that puts their Q2 sales at around 1.6 million US dollars or a 285% increase in revenue quarter over quarter. That is insane growth. But wait, there's more! TAAT could see more growth thanks to the Biden administration. The Biden administration is trying to force cigarette companies to lower the amount of nicotine in their products. That means smokers won't get the same positive feelings they get currently by smoking. And that is where TAAT is uniquely positioned to benefit. Because TAAT contains a small amount of hemp, the CBD TAAT cigarettes deliver provides smokers with the same positive feelings as smoking regular cigarettes. And because TAAT cigarettes contain no nicotine, they won't have to change their product if Biden's rule goes into effect. The Biden administration is also trying to ban menthol cigarettes. Menthol cigarettes have a smoother flavor than other cigarettes, making them more popular to smoke. TAAT's menthol flavor is their #1 selling flavor. And because TAAT cigarettes don't contain tobacco, they won't be banned like tobacco cigarettes will be. So smokers who want the menthol flavor will have to switch to TAAT cigarettes in order to keep the same flavor that they are used to and enjoy if menthol is banned from tobacco cigarettes. So the Biden administration's policies could provide a huge boost to TAAT's user base and ultimately their sales. So we know that TAAT is growing like crazy. The question is, what is a reasonable price target, and should you buy TOBAF for a long-term hold? Now, there's only been one analyst who's covered TOBAF, and it was about 3 months ago. Sid Rajiv gave TOBAF a price target of $4.10. He used a 15% discount rate, but what's interesting is that his prediction for 2021 sales was 2.4 million Canadian dollars. And TOBAF has already hit that in just 3 quarters. They still have a whole nother quarter to go. Sid estimated that TAAT's 2022 sales would be just over 4 million Canadian dollars. At the rate TAAT is growing, they are going to accomplish that an entire year ahead of schedule. So based upon TAAT's faster than expected growth and the fact that the last analyst report was 3 months ago, I'm going to give you a higher price target than Sid gave. Now it's really hard to predict TAAT's growth since the company is so new, but based upon 4 million Canadian dollars in revenue this year and then slowing in growth to around 6 million Canadian dollars in revenue next year, I've come up with a price target of $8.47 US. Then, taking into consideration 4 share offerings over the next 12 months, that lowers my price target to $7.17 US. So I have a 1-year price target of $7.17, or an 81% upside potential from Friday's closing price of $3.96. Keep in mind that my price target of $7.17 could change considerably if TAAT has higher or lower sales than 4 million Canadian in 2021 and 6 million Canadian in 2022. So in summary, TAAT has seen massive growth over the past 2 months with a 750% quarter-over-quarter growth in revenue. Now, while that growth is expected to slow down over the next few quarters, it still puts TAAT well ahead of where they were expected to be by this time. Based upon this accelerated growth, I've come up with a 1-year price target of $7.17 on TOBAF. That represents an 81% upside from Friday's closing price of $3.96. Now, I expect share offerings and short seller attacks to create a lot of short term volatility on the stock price. But over the next 12 months, I do think the rise in price in TOBAF will exceed the market average. So, therefore, I rate TOBAF a buy with a 1 year price target of $7.17. Now, finally, I want to remind you that TOBAF is a penny stock, so you will not be able to buy it on Webull. Webull only allows you to close out your current positions. Instead, you're going to need a traditional broker such as Interactive Brokers. Now, if you don't already have Interactive Brokers, I went ahead and put a link to it in the description of the video, so you can go check that out if you don't already have a way of trading OTC penny stocks in the United States. All right, I hope you enjoyed this video and get a lot out of it. Comment down below what your thoughts on TOBAF are. I hope you have a lot of success trading, and I will see you tomorrow.